Hello, and welcome to another guide for Project Diablo 2. This guide is specifically not drawn from a character I've made in Season 10. I've made this character in Season 9, and it is the Combustion Sorceress. So Combustion Sorceress is a super popular build, and for a good reason. It is incredibly potent at clearing maps very fast and being a viable early season and late season farmer. It blasts through maps at unreasonable pace and is very nice for people who like playing like a speedy sorceress type deal. It pretty much relies, in my opinion, on only one core item truly. Like the rest are relatively flexible, and it's the Ormus robe. But you can run this build without the Ormus robe, so I'll talk about all that later in the gear section. But first, overview. The idea is you have this skill. It's called Combustion. And it creates like this nova of fireballs around you. It explodes everything around you, and in the meantime, like if I like hop in here, you see this is Combustion. You'll see it kind of like destroys everything in your surrounding area, and while you're teleporting around, you'll be throwing out fireballs, right? As you can see, I'm just like teleporting, throwing fireballs, proccing my Ormus robe, and casting my own Combustion whenever it's off cooldown. Okay, so this is like the idea of the build. It's pretty simple, of course. It's kind of like this Nova, Fire Nova character. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about the skills. So let me pull the planner up. And yeah, there are two main approaches to Combustion Sword that I know of. I'm going to talk about both of them shortly, and then move on to mainly speaking about the one that I run, because I don't normally use the first approach. So the main things you should know: the synergies for Combustion are Fireball and Firebolt. So an optimized Combustion would always look like this, with one point into Warmth always. So this always exists, but as you can see, you'll basically have this by the time you're like 70 something, right? Oh wow, actually exactly level 70, you have all this already. Well, normally it will be 72 because you won't point into teleport as well. So you can already kind of maximize the synergies by level 72, which means it's like you're just ending hell. Like if you're playing by yourself, you're just ending hell. But if you're leveling this character by yourself, normally you wouldn't level as Combustion. It's not as viable to level as this character. There are like two main builds that like normally, like I think you would level with. Like normally early in the game, like especially if you're soloing, going with Firewall is super strong. So like go into something like yeah, you max out like Blaze, max out Firewall, put like a point here, point into Teleport, right? So you do something like this to level up. This is like takes up to level 53, so it doesn't really take that long. And then like in Hell, once there's like a ton of like fire immunes, right, you can play this like basically till you finish Nightmare. This would be pretty viable to level with. And then when you go into Hell difficulty, you either switch to like a Lightning build, since Lightning immunes are not really a problem in Hell, and you can do that. Or you could go, if you want to stick to the fire and you already have maybe a few fire items, you can go to Meteor that also deals physical damage. So yeah, these are the requirements for Meteor, and the synergies are Fireball, right, which you're using anyway. Right, max this, and what do you put like into? I think it's Blaze, right? Yeah, Blaze and Inferno, right? So you can put like points here or something, and you'll see that like by level like 93 this gets maxed, but you don't have to go all the way there with it. You can just like tell you're like 80 or something, and you're like ready to go into maps. So something like this would be fine. You can do this to farm LOD with. Meteor is a very nice one. You can use like Chain Lightning, just Lightning, Lightning Nova, whatever you like to level up. Basically, once you're level 80 and you can go into maps, now we can start talking about Combustion, which I think Combustion really thrives in maps, since it's such a great area clear. So now we're going back to this thing we're talking about. Okay, so you're playing Combustion. There are two approaches. Okay, that's what we were saying. Approach number one, this is kind of like the safe approach, is you'll put some points over here so you can get energy shield, and you max your energy shield. You can put the rest of your points into teleport, so you can have like another way to kind of like teleport around, and that's basically how you deal with this. So what's the benefit of doing this? Basically, you're doing this so you can like be super safe. You don't need very high resistances because you have energy shield, which means you have a lot of absorb. You need like poison resist, but the rest you're pretty much fine on. And you do a lot of damage because combustion is a very high damage skill. But you're also very safe. That is like energy shield. That's the benefit. Anybody who knows me or seen anything that I do knows that I hate using energy shield. And the reason I hate it is because it means I get less damage. And this is the second approach. Second approach means you're maxing teleport and ignoring energy shield completely. The reason you want to max teleport is because hard points into teleport, meaning points you're actually investing, not just like points from like plus skills, right? You'll see that like nothing changes here if I have this. It's the same, like minus the 63 damage. When you're teleporting, there is like for 1 second, you get a debuff for your damage. And debuffing damage sucks, so I like maxing this so I can go as fast as possible. I think it's a very viable way to use the build, and you don't have to die doing this. If you are playing hardcore, I don't, so I mean, that seems like a you issue. But mostly hardcore, I assume, would use energy shield. Especially since you're usually you're not blocking on this build. There is one setup that I know of that does use a shield, but normally I think you don't use a shield. But yeah, that'll be saved for the gear section. If you do max your teleport, there are two ways to dump the rest of your points. You have 8 more skill points. One of them is to just put them into warmth if you want more mana regen. I think this is a little bit of a waste since you get like a bunch of plus skills on this build. You might as well put a point into shiver armor, just get a little bit more defense. You're already not running energy shield, so you might as well run one defensive skill like this. The rest can be dumped either into warmth or into shiver armor. Both are okay as like point dumps. You can technically gain access to energy shield, but if you're not focusing on energy shield, it's not very effective to run it as kind of like as a secondary thing. Like I tried it was just not very effective, so I decided against it. But pretty much up to you. These are kind of like the options you have for you. And now let's talk about the gear. Gear wise, the main piece in my opinion of this build, the main thing that doesn't really go away is the Ormus robe. Ormus is just a really nice kind of like enabler for this build. Ormus was nerfed since season 9, right? It was nerfed in season 10 as 30 FCR, and the procs are slower. So the procs kind of like don't happen as often, but it does not mean that this is not insanely strong. Basically for the 10 FCR, just pretend like I have like a 10 FCR desecration on my amulet, since desecration wasn't a thing in season 9, so effectively this wasn't nerfed in that sense, because you can still get that extra 10 FCR on something else. Anyway, let's talk about the gear. So Ormus is kind of like the reason why when you're teleporting, random combustions are going to get sent out. And when you're casting like your fireballs as well, like random combustions eventually will happen. Where are my combustions? Yeah, thank you. Game was trying to test my luck there for a moment. So yeah, super nice armor. You can use other armors if you're just starting out. If you're using things like Hagen's, Atmas, or whatever you're using that just gives you plus skills, faster cast rate. If you're just using Scalders because you're MFing, all these things are okay at the start. Because they're just enabling you with giving you plus skills, faster cast rate, FHR, things like that is perfectly fine. You can also use Skin of Viper Magi if you need more res, if you're not going with energy shield setup. That's also great early on. Anyway, these are the kind of like beginner armors, but Ormus is the one that you should be wanting. Either one with 3 sockets, +1 skills. I use one with faster hit recovery just because I think it was pretty good. It let me reach like this breakpoint. And generally speaking, for faster, if we're talking like breakpoints, faster cast rate, you want to be at 200. If you're not at 200, 105 is the minimum, in my opinion, to really run this build. In my opinion, it's the minimum to run like any Sorceress build, but maybe outside of like Hydras, because like Hydras FCR doesn't matter too much, but pretty much 105 or 200, these are the two that I would gun for. 200 compromises a little bit on damage for speed of casting and letting you proc more often, and 105 you can focus more on MFing or getting like more plus skills overall. As for FHR, I'm at 86. I would say that 60 is very much enough. But if you're running this at 42 and you're teleporting in maps and you're running into very dense mobs, you might get like stunned there for a moment. And this character does not want to get stunned. You want to keep moving all the time. So 60 would be 60 faster hit recovery is the minimum that I would suggest. If you are running it with the Kiras, it shouldn't be too hard. Like getting 20 FHR from the Kiras, you need 40 more. That could be like free skillers that give you faster hit recovery, and 4 more from like a small charm or something. I think I have like a small charm like this. I'll talk about the charm soon. Generally, the rest of your gear does not give you faster hit recovery. So Kira's is the only piece that normally does. In my case, like I have like the Ormus. I also have like a free socket Ormus with 5/5. It's not like I don't have it. So you can use both. I found that like the FHR one was a little bit nicer for me. So I like this one, but you can use whatever you like. A +1 skills one is also really cool in terms of damage. So you can consider that too if you're like already very rich and you have that kind of access. But yeah, Ormus, main piece. Kira's, in my opinion, is the best piece. This one's landed with +1 skills. Obviously, Kira's was also nerfed in terms of how much res it gives. But Kira is also like a super strong option. And I think it will stay like a staple of this build. You can use rare circlets with like, 2 skills and like 20 FCR if you're trying to get like the breakpoint through your helmet. I don't think it's necessary. If you're using the energy shield, it is very strong if you're running a circlet, since you don't really need all the old res that you get from Kira's. But still, getting the Pierce for fire is really nice. Either a rare circlet or Akira's. I think these would be the 2 main options you'd be using early in the season. If you're just using a Shaco or something like that for the plus skills, that's okay, and like to MF with, but you want to transition into something like Kira's or to a circlet. For our weapon, I'm using a Mang Song, and this Mang Song is obviously pretty nutty, but you don't have to have anything so crazy at the start of the season. Mang Song is the most like damage setup normally. It obviously depends on your setup. Other options for weapons are running a Brimstone early on is okay. It's not amazing, but it is okay. You can run a Skull Collector. If you're running Energy Shield, it has a lot of synergies with it because it gives you a lot of mana after each kill. And you can be running, I don't have these in non-ladder, so sadly I can't just show them, but obviously if you search up like Skull Collector or like a Brimstone, you'll find them. And the one setup that you can use in terms of weapon that also uses a shield is using Ashuda's. Ashuda's is like a small one, so it lets you run a shield. It is pretty strong. Usually if you run it, you'd run it with a Phoenix rune ward that gives you a lot of minus to enemy fire res. It will give you redemption, which means it will also heal you. It's a very potent setup, especially early in the season before you get all this life after each kill gear. So I'd say this is like a very good setup to start with. It's also a very good setup to run with till the end of the season because it is very strong. So that's like one option. You can also run a Storm Shield or like a Spirit Ward if you prefer something more safe that lets you block it like at a better rate. That's also fine. So these are like types of shields that you could be using. I personally don't like them because I tried them and it was like slightly less damage. It felt like slightly slower in terms of running a map, but the difference is not like it's not a big difference. So if you like that extra safety, feel free to go with it. It's very strong. For gloves, you'll almost always be using Mage Fist. The only time you're not using Mage Fist is if you have enough faster cast rate and you want more life after each kill, in which case you can be using faster cast rate Dracules. You can also use technically Frostburns early on in the season if you just need like something and you don't have a good Mage Fist yet. So Frostburns, another option for you to run if you do feel like it. Mage Fist, obviously you get them for the +1 fire skills and the 20 faster cast rate, with the optimal slam normally being 10 faster cast rate. For belts, Arachnid's Mesh is the way for you to get to 200 FCR normally. Usually you never do it without Arax. Very nice piece of belt. If you don't have an access to one, you can just use a rare belt with faster cast rate and with like some nice resistances or physical damage reduction. Normally you don't use any other belt because other belts don't really offer you a lot. But you can, if you don't have any Arax, you can just use like a PDR belt or like anything that just gives you protection from from enemies. For boots, silk weaves are normally the best pair of boots for you. They give you a lot of mana after each kill that kind of take care of your needs. I have the one slammed with free life after each kill, which is my preferred way of getting life after each kill. On the boots, you can use res boots if, again, you don't need the mana after each kill. Maybe you're using Skull Collector and you have enough. Maybe you got enough from your amulet. But generally, silk weaves are the go-to boots for this build. In terms of jewelry, you have your amulet. Amulet is actually, I wouldn't say Mara's is the way to go for this build. This is one that I just made myself, so I was kind of happy with it. So I kept it on me. It was back in Season 9. And I think it was the first Mara's that I slammed with plus skill, so I was just very happy. Normally, you'd be going with blood amulets. Remember, blood amulets are crafts made with rubies. You can do ruby, am, and a jewel with one amulet that you gamble or whatever, and it will craft like a blood amulet, or you can use one of the infusions. Let me just demonstrate what this looks like and why do we use it, in case you haven't caught any of the like crafting talks that I've done in the past. Pretty much like you craft like an amulet and gives you the following mods that you really care about are life after each kill. It also gives life and faster run walk, but these are not as important. And if you craft enough of those, you'll hit something with like all resistances, +2 to sorceress skills, and faster cast rate, hopefully. But the main thing you want is like the life after each kill mod. That's kind of like a mod that lets you sustain yourself when you're going through the maps, and it's very important for builds that want to cast and just like move around through maps very fast without like using potions. Using potions is basically just slowing you down because it means you have to refill your belt eventually. I'm using the Maras. It gives you a lot of res and all skills. There's nothing wrong with using Maras. It's just that optimally you'd be using something like this that is like obviously crafting with the right mods for a sorceress. I think I have a good one in ladder, and I might hop just to show what like a good amulet looks like. As for rings, normally if you're using like a life after each kill sustain build, you'd use something like a Bull Kathos or Wisp Projector with life after each kill. Both are really nice. Wisp obviously giving you the absorb for lightning, and BK giving you a lot of flat life based on character level, of course. Both of them give plus skills, which is why you're using them. You can also use these kind of rare rings. This one has a lot of life and mana, faster cast rate slam, and life after each kill. So this could be very nice for you as well. Let me hop quickly to ladder just to show, I guess, what like a good amulet would look like. I'm pretty sure I have one. Ignore what I have in my what I have on my character. Where are my, yeah, something like this. So this is something I crafted this season. This one has 2 to fire skills, +1 to all skill slam, faster cast rate, that's a crate, all res, a bunch of extra fire res, and life after each kill. This would be a good, or like a very good amulet for like a combustion sorc, for example, that relies on life after each kill. Okay, so that's just like an example, and I can go back to Holly over here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. In terms of like what Merc you use, I like using the Act 2 Merc on this build. They have the Innocence and Ferocity. They will be tanking for you, and they're carrying an Infinity in order to give you that Conviction aura. Everything else he has is pretty much just like attack speed, life leech, and damage, so you can like be helpful as well. He's of course the Defiance version of the build to give you some PDR, because you do not have any PDR on this build, at least on my approach. So this gives you like 10 PDR, some flat damage reduction, which helps you stay safe pretty much. I think it's important. On your switch, I didn't mention it, but obviously you have this Call to Arms and a Lidless Wall. The Lidless, of course, just to buff your Call to Arms. Technically, you can run like a Call to Arms that has Shiver Armor, like on a staff that has Shiver Armor. That will save you the points in it. I just didn't have one at the time, and I didn't really need the extra points. I'm not running Energy Shield. If you are running Energy Shield, skipping the Lidless is probably good for it. So you skip the Lidless, you get like a two-handed staff with like a plus to Shiver Armor, so you can cast Shiver Armor and still have a very nice Energy Shield, and then you dump the rest of your points into Teleport to get like as little a debuff as you can. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for our setup. We talked about the Merc, the gear, the skills, then the charms. Charms are normally, you have your torch, your Anilus, your skillers, right? All these have life. This is like faster air recovery. Above the torch, I put like a large charm with faster air recovery, again, just to hit this breakpoint. You can use one with life or faster run walk, whatever you like. My small charms have like all res, life, FHR. That's kind of like what I went with, right? Some of these are 4s. I know it's very shameful, but whatever. We put a lot of effort into the Sorceress because we love her a lot. And yeah, that's what we like over here. If you are running the energy shield setup, you don't need that much all res. You're fine with like 30 to 50 all res. You don't need to max it at all because you get a lot of absorb. You just need a little bit more poison. So you can do like with like MF charms are fine on that kind of setup, or like life mana like charms to just like get you more flat life and mana are fine. Like whatever you like, honestly, on that kind of setup is fine. I personally like running these like all res setup, so that's what I went with. All right, we kind of explained how the build works. Other than that, you don't really need any more information. I don't know why I bought that. I just wanted to fill my key. There we go. In terms of what content this fire sorc can run, this combustion sorc, if you're running maps, like the maps that you like running the most are things like Pandemonium, cows obviously are awesome. You can run the unique maps, no problem. You don't struggle with them. You can do obviously sewers, one of my favorite maps for tier 1. You can do Caldeum, you can do Tomb. So obviously a lot of maps that she's super strong at. River is like perfectly fine for you. I think Ashen is not bad at all. So all these places are really, really nice for you. Throne can clear a lot of maps, so you have a lot of variety in what you can do. You're generally just avoiding like the high fire immunes, so like Phlegathon, Horizon, Trojan, like you won't be farming those. Personally, yeah, I don't like Keji. It's not very high immunity, but it's a little bit annoying in my opinion, just like teleporting around there. You can run Sanatorium. So I'm just gonna give a small demonstration on the sewers. Like I'm not gonna do more than one map. So I think like you can kind of get the idea just from like seeing like a quick sewer run, and also shows the speed. Always like sewers is a good way to show speed. Let me throw a Standard of Honor because I forgot to do that. Okay, so we got like a sewers map prepped up, and obviously Combustion Sorc can do all these things as well. Like you wouldn't really struggle. I'll consider in the future also showing these builds, like also doing like tier 0 clone, because it's actually incredibly easy to do. So I might also add that to demonstrations in the future, just to kind of show people that they can do a lot more than they think. But for now, I'll stick to the sewers, just because I love this map and I love running it. So yeah, let's just kind of show it. Of course, running this map is like just a way to demonstrate like the potential of a build. You can be running a lot of other maps. There's nothing specifically special about sewers. It's just very fast, so it doesn't take too long in the video. Okay, and I think we're ready to go. If there are any questions or anything that you want to know otherwise that I missed or that I didn't cover, feel free to ask. If you want to talk about energy shield, make sure to do it with somebody who uses it. And yeah, let's just hop into the map, I guess. Okay, so first you'll be buffing yourself. I like to cast this Frozen, and like the things you'll be doing are mostly like teleporting, right? You'll be casting your Combustion and going like this, right? So as you can see, I teleport, cast my Combustion, teleport, cast fireballs in order to proc my Ormus, and I keep going, right? So this is kind of like how the build looks like. It's very simple to play. You can see that I'm not losing any life. I'm teleporting without too much regard for my safety, because I don't feel like in trouble. So yeah, I'm gonna try and show like I'm not going too fast here because I'm like yapping and it's distracting me. But generally speaking, like you can see, this clears very, very fast. Like I don't really stop to pick up like small stuff like gems on these kind of builds. Because of how fast they are, you just kind of like want to focus on clearing. If you drop something big, you'll stop for it. And yeah, I've been farming a lot on this character in season 9. It was one of my favorite builds to farm with. in terms of farming maps. It's just very enjoyable to play. You can see it's very satisfying to have this kind of like Nova Fire just destroy everything around you. And I didn't really take time. Maybe I'll put like a timer. Flash of Malik. Oh, I actually don't need those. So yeah, like as you can see, like not having too much trouble, just clearing around everything. During bosses, I think there was one here, right? Oh, there he is. Yeah, just make sure you target him with your fireballs. They do a lot of damage. Like the fireballs do a lot of damage, so you don't really have to worry about killing bosses. It doesn't really take you long or anything. And yeah, if you can position yourself for like a good combustion, and you see like the packs are like organized in some way, try to teleport like in a way that would kind of hit everything around you, not just like one wave. And yeah, I hope that like this kind of demonstrates enough like the strength of the build. I know that the build is not optimized. No, it's pretty optimized, I think, but it's like it could be a little bit stronger maybe. It could be a little bit safer for some people's taste. But as you can see, again, not in danger at any point of time. Like, I don't fear for my life. I'm just hopping around, destroying everything in my path. And obviously, this is non-ladder, so I'm not picking up small items. I mean, I don't think I'd pick them up in ladder as well, but you can kind of see if you were like a little bit weaker early in the season, yes, this takes a little bit longer to go through, like you teleport less often, but the build is still super viable early as a farmer. If you like running sorts early and you want something that can clear through maps, start getting these like high rune drops, that definitely is a good build to go with. Like, I really recommend it. A lot of like you know, experienced players like opening with this kind of build. At least from what I saw, like friends of mine really like doing it. As you can see, we're already at the end. It took us like about, just based on like how much time we have left on our battle orders, right? It's a 3 minute, oh sorry, it's a 5 minute thing. We had like 90 seconds left, meaning like a minute and a half. So it took us like 3.5 minutes to clear. I was going pretty slowly. Just like imagine what this is when you go fast. I've already cleared like a sewers in 3 minutes clean. So I know this build is extremely fast, extremely potent if you want to push it to the max. This is definitely one of these like fastest possible builds to clear with. And of course, the demonstration was on sewers, but you could see that everything was just kind of dying really fast. It can clear harder maps as well. So don't worry about it if you're farming cows, if you're farming sanatorium, if you're farming thrones. Thrones are a little bit dangerous. I'll just put this here that like if you are running thrones, be a little bit more careful about your teleports because they can have a lot of physical damage there that could kill you. The archers. Pandemonium is super safe to farm. It's very, very easy to go through. So a lot of options to where you can farm. And of course, like it's not a build that can't farm LOD. Like you can still go to LOD and farm keys, farm materials like farming pests on Mephisto, or farming what was it called, demonic insignia in the portals. Like it's still super viable to farm any kind of like other ways of getting rich. So super strong build, super viable. I really recommend you try it if you want this kind of sorceress for early season. Let me know if there are other builds you want me to show. I have like a bunch of other builds from the past. I just figured this one is super popular still, so I might as well show it to other people so they can, you know, try it for themselves. And yeah, I hope this was a useful guide, and I'll see you in the next video. Tomorrow we'll be back with our journey to tier 2 Rathma, so I just figured since I have nothing to show today, I might as well, you know, do a little guide. Well, until the next video or the next stream, I'll see you around, and have a good whatever you're having. Bye bye.